Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. Today for Tuesday, let's take a look at the lesson that's assigned from the letter to the Hebrews for morning prayer, the second lesson. We're already up to verse number 12. Remember, we, through the last chapters, have been talking about the various heroes of the faith and how Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and all of these other Old Testament figures were found faithful to God through the various, they did acts, they did things, but those things were the result of their faithfulness to keeping the covenant between God and the people of the Jews. And so now the writer of the Hebrews then heads on chapter 12 to kind of sum that portion up. Wherefore, seeing we are also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endureth much contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your mind. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof ye are partakers, then ye are bastards and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which be lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness spring up, trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterwards, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Okay, so this is hard, but the reality is that does God sometimes punish us? Well, the word we use here is chastisement, right? If we are doing wrong, then God will make it so that there's consequences for our sinfulness, and that sometimes the only way we learn is through the frustration of being chastised. And, I might joke about it, that sometimes the only way God can get my attention is like with a stubborn mule with a beam to the forehead to get my attention. But sometimes the only way we learn is through the bearing of troubles. And God does allow that to happen to us in order for us to come out on the other side as spiritually stronger and more firm in the faith. So if you're going through a hard time, know that the Lord is there with you and going through it with you, and that he will not leave you unaided. He will supply his grace. He will comfort you, and he will help you so that it becomes an opportunity for learning. I mean, even Joseph was set at naught by his brothers, was put into a pit, sold to slave traders, and what they intended for evil, God used for good, right? He saved the people of Israel through their wickedness. But for a long while, as we know from the story, it was a chastisement for Joseph. It was a hard time of trial for Joseph, but God used it to his greater honor and glory. So if you're having a hard time and you're going through it, know that God is there with you, and that in the big picture you will have a purpose. He has a purpose for you. Today's Tuesday, and so we do have 12:15 Holy Communion and 4 o'clock evening prayer. I hope you can join us in person or follow us on the live stream, and may your Tuesday be full of blessings.